All right. Well, I want to get started here today as people start to trickle in. My name's Eric with Followup CRM. Glad to have you guys here today. Today, we're going to talk about sales meeting best practices. I'm going to call it the sales meeting motion. We're going to go through a short presentation, giving you guys helpful tips and tricks on how to run effective, productive, goal-hitting sales meetings. And then from there, I'd like to open it up for Q&A. So before we get started, I see a lot of people from around the country. So if we can do what I call is a quick tech check and post what company you're with and where you're dialing in from. Tammy, CFS, Fort Myers. Is it raining over there? It's pouring over here in Fort Lauderdale. Jim, Span, South Carolina. Hey, Brandy. A little? Yeah, I think there's a tropical storm out there in the Atlantic. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Tammy, I heard that, well, 2020 is turning out to be some kind of a year, right? But it seems to be a very active hurricane season this season. That's all we need, another natural disaster, right? All right. So it looks like you guys are chatting in there. So let's hop in. Now, to start us off, I want to talk about, what you can learn from me. So because you guys are all contractors, roofers, HVAC, there's a lot of different industries out here that are joining us today, but I have sat in on hundreds, it seems like, of sales meetings to really see and build follow up for the outcome of helping you run productive and efficient sales meetings to help people win more opportunities, win more contracts, and hit your revenue objectives and help everyone make more money. So that's what I compiled here together is my learnings and best practices that I've seen at dozens and dozens of roofing companies in their sales meetings, best practices. And to be honest with you, some people run pretty bad sales meetings. Some people don't run any sales meetings at all, which is tough. Some people run average, but what I've done here is put together some best practices for the ones that I considered were the best that translated that weekly sales motion into actual, revenue producing results. So before we hop into those items, what I would like to hear from you guys to help really frame this conversation is what is the hardest part of the sales meetings at your company? Post that in there, the chat below. Accountability. Yep, totally see that. What else? What's the hardest part of your sales meeting? New topics of discussion. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to get traction in a certain direction because people are bringing up random things and it becomes a catch-all meeting. What else? What is the hardest part about your sales meetings? Keeping them excited, not being redundant. Yep, totally understand that. Getting people focused on new business. Yeah, totally understand that. What else? What else? Feels like a waste of time sometimes. Yeah, maybe from the salesperson perspective. Yeah, that kind of addresses keeping them excited. So anything else out there? Let's see. Okay, so you guys kind of hit the nail on the head, and that's really the problem with what I see in those failed and boring and bad sales meetings. They can be redundant and just feel like a big waste of time. I see Brandy saying getting the estimators to enter the information, and totally understand that. One rule that I see that works really well out there is tying compensation to follow-up, tying their compensation to what is entered in follow-up. And I've heard this before: if it's not in follow-up, then it doesn't exist. So that is a phrase and a saying that I heard at several different companies to help get that information in there. Because if their compensation is tied to it, then they're more likely to enter that information in there. But some of the major challenges that we see is that people feel like it's a waste of time, especially the salespeople. They want to get out there. They want to be in front of clients, try to make more money. And this just seems like a bureaucratic, managerial time. But if you do your sales meetings right, then it can feel like one of the most productive meetings of the week. And I'm going to show you some things to help that really be a great touch base with your salespeople, your estimators, to make sure they're on the right path. Next thing is missing goals. Maybe, especially with Corona, goals are up and down depending on the market you're serving, the industry that you're in. But missing sales goals is tough. And sales meetings that aren't aligned with sales goals can feel very unproductive. And if you're missing your goals as a salesperson, as an estimator, as a team, as a company, then it becomes really tough to forecast revenue and forecast the future. I had a client recently. They are a commercial roofer, about, I want to say $50 million. And they had one guy who was bringing in $30 million worth of business. And he decided to start his own company. And they called him the $30 million man. And the problem is that when you have a $30 million man like that, or whenever you have a person that carries a lot of the weight on their shoulders, then when they leave, those clients, those bids, those opportunities, those relationships start to fall through the cracks if you don't have things properly managed in a CRM or in your company's processes. So what this company did, they were able to forecast and see the future because they made sure every single thing was in follow-up, every email, every note, every contact, all in follow-up. So even though they lost their $30 million man, they had one down month where they did not hit their goal, but then the following month, they had other people pick up those opportunities that that $30 million man left behind, and they did even better without him being at the company, which was an amazing testament to their usage of the system. So that is definitely a pain point, and it's difficult to forecast and see the future. And if you're running great sales meetings, you'll be able to see what you're able to do at the end of the month and forecast your revenue so that you guys can budget accordingly. Another major problem I see out there is no accountability. Salespeople, if you ever ask a salesperson if they're going to win the deal, they're going to say yes. And what's the likelihood they're going to win the deal? Every time, 100% of the time. And then guess what happens? Somebody else might come in and get the deal, or it's pushed for Corona, right? No one saw that coming. But keeping salespeople accountable is one of the more tough things out there to be doing in a sales meeting. I have a couple of tips that I've seen out there that works really well to help people stay accountable to what they're supposed to deliver to the business. So next thing my promise is to help you guys have short, concise sales meetings so that you can hit your goals, keep people accountable. And what that all begins with planning. So a lot of people just have a sales meeting and they say, okay, we're going to meet 9 a.m. Monday morning or 4 p.m. Friday afternoon, but they fail to design the meeting. And what I mean by that is having a structured agenda, basically, that you go through every week with goals and people responsible for leading the conversation. So you have a structured approach on what's going to get done in that meeting. And if that meeting is not led by like the sales manager, VP of sales, or some direct person to keep everything on track, then that meeting is just going to be all over the place. And, sometimes in meetings, there's urgent issues that need to be addressed for sure, but it's the leader's job to design the meeting to reel it back in. So we can make sure everybody's on the same page. So how do you design the meeting? What I have here is a structure of the best companies that I've seen out there, how they really design their meetings. And what I mean by that, there's probably 3 or 4 major components of designing a meeting. You have in the first column, hey, Mike, yes, I'll send you these slides for sure. They'll be available. We'll send an email out and I'll send you everything, all the different resources that I have compiled here. So the first 3 columns you can see at the top, you have marketing, you have sales and estimating, and you have account management. What I found is breaking these categories of the pre-construction or the front end of the business up allows you to really compartmentalize and understand what's going on in what section of the business. And so typically what we see at the company is, a lead might come into the business, right? And this is your sales process. The lead comes in, then you qualify it, then you close the contract, and then you build a relationship with farmers. And these are the roles identified that are responsible for these kinds of activities. And so these, this section right below are the activities or the people responsible for doing these activities, and these would be the categories. So for example, what is marketing responsible for when generating leads? It could be publishing content. It could be publishing social media on LinkedIn or Facebook, whatever you're publishing to get the word out there, that is going to lead to generating leads. Another way of generating leads is paid. I know a lot of you guys are in residential, and residential roofing really can be fed by paid Facebook advertising, things like that. But it also can be fed very much for a commercial building, a commercial roofing business as well. I've seen a lot of companies do that and be profitable with it. Another way to generate leads is partners. Now, this is probably my preferred way, and I think is the most productive, is having a preferred partner network. So maybe other like HVAC companies that you might partner with, or general contractors, that you're their go-to guy, so that every lead that comes from them is a quality lead. And then number 4 is product. And what I mean by product is like free estimates or free takeoffs or a free inspection. There's actually a new proposal generator that we just released, and we have a inspection section so that you can document and put photos into a proposal that shows how the damage of the roof is impacting, whether it's a leak and things like that. And so right below that, we have the different channels or examples that I just went through. So content, Google Ads, partners and shows, and free inspection. So once you have the lead developed and you have the amount of leads you need to close the amount of business that you want, those leads then funnel to qualifiers. Qualifiers are the people that filter through all the business that you have generated, and then they ask the question, is this a good fit for my company? And the primary roles that we see that accomplishing that task could be like a receptionist or someone at the front desk, a sales admin who's, taking the brunt of those leads and asking them the proper questions, or a business development representative who's going to be more market facing and chasing after those opportunities. And how are they doing that? They're measured on calls, leads entered into the system, and then leads passed off to sales. And a lot of people don't like to separate these 2 roles of qualifiers and closers, but I really advocate for that. And the reason why is if you have your closers qualifying your opportunities, they're going to be wasting a lot of their time chasing things that don't need to be chased. For example, if you do only commercial roofing, you want to qualify your residential leads and then pass them off to somebody else. Or on the other hand, maybe you have maybe you're in residential and maybe you have a customer that really needs a sheet metal roof, but you don't do sheet metal. So you want to qualify that ahead of time. And if your closers who should be signing contracts and meeting with clients are doing that kind of work, it's really helpful to have like an admin person or someone like that have a list of questions to pass that off. So now, we move to closers. These are the guys that are getting the ink on the paper, managing their pipeline, and having the meetings with the clients. If you have people that are, really charismatic and that are closing deals, you want to get them in front of the clients. And so what we have found, and you might have that at your company, that there might be one or two or three of your entire team that are really the good closers. And so what do you want to do? You want to get those qualifiers like the receptionist, BDR, sales admin, to help the closers out so that they can spend the time, their time at what they're the best at, which is closing deals. So what we're doing here, and just so you can see that, is we're optimizing, right? We're optimizing the time spent in each section so people can get the velocity of the leads turning into opportunities, opportunities turning into contracts. Because when we're focused on one thing, we're going to do a better job at that. And then finally, once those closers have close that deal, maybe it's a maybe it's a property management company that they closed the first deal. Sometimes it makes sense to hand it off to a farmer type person who might be less aggressive than a closer mentality. And there's tons of personality tests out there that can kind of give you that information. And a farmer, another way to think about this, it could be like a major house account where you're diving deeper into your relationships that you have with that property management company, so you can start to expand your footprint within that account. And so sometimes having a closer mentality might not be the best with that, because you don't want to damage that relationship. And also farmers, they're going to be the ones who are able to get those referrals, those warranties, those upsells, add-ons, whatever those are for your company. So it's really important to structure and design your sales meetings to go over leads, qualified opportunities, contracts, and then your accounts. And I'm going to show you a little bit more so that you can have something to take away to go to your meetings with. So the next thing that we have here is specialize. I kind of hinted that here back on this last slide. But when we specialize, we're really optimizing. And that's the whole goal, is that imagine if you had, and you might be in the stage, which is okay, one person doing all of these things. They're really just running around and trying to put out fires, or they're trying to get the contract done. And the real problem when you have people concentrating on just signing deals only, or the whole process here, is that you're going to treat your leads possibly poorly, because you're just trying to close the deal now. When if you have a structured process, it's more professional, and you get to build that long-term relationship with that. So that's why it's really important to specialize. The next thing I would say here is set the plan. A lot of people might not have quotas. I see, on a lot of quarterly reviews that, quota management isn't really done well, whether that's bidding quota, whether that is contracts quota. But if you don't set your plan for the year, for the quarter, for the week, then you're really doing a disservice to your sales and estimating team, because they don't have the path to go down. And once you have the path that you have set in place, your people can walk down that path, and then you have actual something to measure them against. So if you don't have that path, then it's really hard to keep people accountable when you don't have a plan and a path that you have created for them. So what I've done here is created a template for you guys. I'll send this out. Brandy asks, who has the authority to change those quotas? So in Followup, administrators on the account can change quotas. So you can do that in the settings tab, and we can send you an article on how to do that. No problem. So here is an example of a simple plan that goes over up here on the top left-hand side. We have the company quota. We have it divided into divisions. So you can see construction, service, residential. We have gross margin quotas, and then you have the percentage of goal. A lot of this is automated in Followup for you through reports and charts and graphs. That's the nice thing about Followup. But this is really helpful to do maybe in the beginning of the year or halfway through the year like we are right now, to see where are we on goal, where are we on plan. And what you can do in Followup on the homepage, if you say year to date, you will see what percentage of quota you are. And if you set 2020 January to December, you'll be able to see your entire company quota to see if you're on track. So here on the top, we have, the months, and then we have the company goals of revenue and gross margin. And then here we have the salespeople, the estimators with their individual quotas, and then their gross margin quota. Super important to have this set up. I really advocate for the gross margin quotas. I don't know if a lot of you have that set up in your system, but it's huge, because I would also recommend paying your people based on the gross margin instead of the revenue, because obviously you want to pay them on gross margin. So having gross margin quotas and revenue goals are super important, so you can make sure you're on pace. And then all of your individuals obviously will roll up into the company view. So if you guys need more help on how to do that, please go to our support center or ask Christine. She'll be happy to hop on a call with you guys. I'll be able to help you as well. No problem with that. So if you have any questions on that, post it in the chat. I might be able to provide some direction for you there. So next thing here will be peer accountability. That is the best way I have seen to keep salespeople, keep estimators, keep people accountable to what they say they're going to do. So let's say, for example, you have a salesperson that says, we're going to bring in 5 contracts for $500,000 in this month. Keep them accountable. How? One company that we work with, what they do is they have all of their salespeople, all of their estimators, do short 2-minute presentations on their pipeline, on their contracts, on their leads, on their referrals, and they run through the numbers. So why? Imagine this. You have a room filled of 10 to 15 people. Your salesperson stands up, gives a public presentation, doesn't have to have too many graphs and charts. You can literally just throw Followup on the screen, go to the home page, and click this week. And then you'll be able to see, what they bid, what they won, their activities, their closing ratio, things like that, so they can have an overview. And the reason why this works is because no one wants to be on the bottom of the list, right? No one wants to be the guy who's not hitting their revenue objectives, their quotas. And then a good practice is to go to your dashboard to see what you have to get done for the week, right? Is your dashboard red? If it is, then you got to clean it up. And then as a sales manager, as a president of the company, you can provide direction and accountability to your people. So it's really helpful to see, who has a lot on their plate, who has not that much on their plate, and you can distribute work, how you see fit from there. But those are some practices that I've seen out there to really help with accountability. No one wants to be the bad guy. So the social peer accountability seems to really work. If you have any questions around that, love to share. Here's a photo. of that kind of happening, there at Best Roofing, around the table, right? So the next thing we have here is the weekly rhythm. Doing these things weekly is huge because having your people report on that weekly, activities done, bids sent out, contracts secured is really what helps people run their business efficiently. Imagine this. You have your Monday morning sales meeting and people don't want to look bad at that Monday morning sales meeting. So on Sunday night, they're going to go into follow up. They're going to update their activities. They're going to follow up with everyone they said they were going to follow up with so that they don't look bad Monday morning, right? So that's why the peer accountability really works and that weekly rhythm really works. I see a lot of companies do monthly sales meetings. They're okay. They're not bad, but I definitely recommend a weekly rhythm because at the monthly pace, if you forget to follow up with somebody for 3 weeks, that's really damaging when it comes to the sales process. So I definitely recommend a weekly rhythm. So what I've done is I put together a template agenda for you guys so that you can take home and use this in your weekly rhythm. Some people like to have this in a document that you hand in or something like that. All this information can be found in Followup when it comes to the numbers, and there's other places that you can have that you can talk. So just to run through this really quick, here we have last week's accomplishments. This is really a great way to get started, where you have leads or marketing discuss this, or your business development people discuss this. Leads, any that need discussion, appointments that you visited, proposals that you've delivered. Captured contracts, the number of contracts you won, and then the dollar value of those contracts. Your pipeline, you have your pipeline categories, the dollar amount, and then the number. Anticipated closings for construction and service. So what do you see here should be reflected in your contracts to be signed or your verbals, so that you can say, okay, we have a lot of service work coming our way, or we have a lot of large construction jobs coming our way. Number 4, hot items this week. Maybe this week you see, oh, wow, we have, 5 more takeoffs that, we that we're not prepared for this week, and it's going to fall through the cracks unless we add another person doing that. So that helps you, gives you that wiggle room that you need to deal with, emergencies and things like that. Discussion topics with marketing. So what trade shows do you have coming up? What accounts would it be a good idea for business development and marketing to stop by and maybe, give a basket to or something like that. 6, roadblocks, super important. What can management help with to keep the machine running? And number 7, number of referrals for the week. It's a really good metric to have, because if you're doing referrals and you're getting those from your current clients, what does that mean? That means the sales process was a good process, the construction or production process was a good process, and you have a happy client. If they're referring you, those are going to close at a higher rate, so you're going to be able to make more sales because of that. So I'm going to have this template for you. We will follow up with you guys so that you can have this template in your holster. You can distribute this to your sales team. A lot of this information can be found on the homepage. So that's all I had for you guys prepared today. What I want to hear in the chat is, what is one takeaway that you liked from the presentation that you want to implement at your company? Post that here in the chat. Weekly report card. Yep. Design the meeting. Absolutely. Peer accountability. That one's huge. I would definitely recommend doing that. Specialization. Yeah. Specialization. Yeah. And Jerry, when it comes to specialization, a couple of things that I've seen, not everybody is a large company that can specialize 100%, right? I would recommend is, the question you should ask is, how can I take stuff off of my salesperson's plate? So maybe that means hiring a a dedicated estimator or a dedicated takeoff person. And that way, if you have a sales team of 5, then one person can be running around doing all the takeoffs for them, right? So there's definitely ways to utilize the resources that you have right now to begin to specialize. And so once you start to specialize, you'll see how much more efficient that you're going to get. Structured plan for the meetings, I totally see that. Mike, you said having salespeople explain their own stats and pipeline. That is great. Brandy, accountability. It's all about accountability, right? I love that too. So what I want to hear from you guys, if you are doing sales meetings at your company, I would love for you guys to take photos, take a video, throw Followup on the screen, send it to us. We're going to do a lot more client testimonials and promotional things like that and share it all over social media. We love seeing things like that. We have a couple of clients send photos and videos and things like that. So I would love to hear that from you guys. So what I want to do is just open up the floor to you guys. What questions do you have for me about this, about maybe any features that we're rolling out in the future? What questions do you guys have for me out there? When is the proposal generator coming out? Yeah, it's actually in beta right now. So if you're interested in our proposal generator, let me know. And I'll show you a demo. I'll show you how it would work. It's really nice because it takes all the information in file data and then it puts it into the proposal for you, so you don't have to do any double entry. And it makes it really, really beautiful proposal that you can put pictures in, things like that. Mike, you should video best roofing sales meetings so we could check it out. Yeah, that's a great idea. We can definitely do that on how they run their sales meetings. It's a lot. It's very structured. And actually, this, you can see here, this is their structure for sales meeting that I thought I would share with you guys. When will there be a phone app? Tammy, great news. There is a phone app. We can get that for you. I'll show you in our support center, there's how to enter it on your phone. And the nice thing about the phone app is that you can take pictures and upload those pictures straight into Followup right from your phone. So it's super nice. It's already ready for you. So good news there. How many attendees today have their salespeople on commission? That's a question that Jim has. Let's see. Jim, from what I hear, most people have their people on commission. Whether it's now how that commission split up, that's a big question, whether it's 50-50 or 60-40. That's the hard part. I can send you some resources around best practices for that. Base salary. Yeah, Tammy has a base salary and incentive about 20 to 25%. I see that out there. That's pretty good. And Jim, a little bit of advice that I've seen out there. It really depends on the role. So like, let's say you have a farmer out there who's managing your big house accounts. That's probably going to necessitate a higher base salary and an incentive. But let's say you have like a closer out there. Maybe you want to have them be more of a hunter mentality. So maybe you want more of a 50-50 commission split. And maybe you have administrative people that's 100%, salary. So yeah, there's lots of ways to slice and dice it. And I can get you some more resources on that. So question for you guys that are still here with us. Should we be doing more of these? I want to hear your feedback. How often? We're considering doing it monthly, weekly. What's your availability look like? One thing we would like to do is have a contractor roundtable where we're discussing, tons of things about the business. Yes, you want more of these? Okay, perfect. We'll have different topics for different people. Okay, great. Okay, great. Yeah, we're going to do a lot of these when changes to the reports come out. Yeah, Brandy, we're rolling out features. Wow. very quickly now. We actually tripled our development resources here at Followup. So we're going to be producing so many new features. What I want to hear from everybody are your feature requests. We're actually going to roll out. The report looks better every week. That's great. I really want to hear about feature requests. Our next customer newsletter, we're going to have a product feature voting system. So you'll be able to see the major features that we are building and that are on our roadmap. And then you'll be able to vote on which ones should be higher on our list because they're more important to you. So look for that in our customer newsletter coming out soon, okay? All right, everybody, I'm going to wrap this up here. A few housekeeping items. Please join our Facebook group. We're going to post a lot of these on there. We're going to go on Facebook Live. Next time, we'll probably do Facebook Live. But Tammy, you have a session on how to use for business development, not only selling and opening doors. Yeah, we can definitely do some sessions on business development and how to curate that. Any other session ideas, please post them in the chat. We have a couple of ideas on what we would like to do for the following sessions. But yeah, please post them in the chat. But join our Facebook group. Please reach out to me, Christine, Courtney. We would love to hear more from you guys. Feature requests, I see here from Mike, automated email follow-ups. We're working on that. Exciting stuff to show. I can show you that here, Mike, soon on what we're thinking about that design. So that's a really exciting one that I'm really excited about. So yeah, so please reach out to us. Anything we can do to help, any tweak, anything. We're here for you guys. Post it in the chat. Post it in the Facebook group, email us, and we're going to be happy to help you guys. All right. So talk to you soon. Stay safe out there. Take some vitamin C, take some vitamin D. Don't get corona. Wear a mask. And we thank you guys for just in the construction industry being an essential worker and doing what you guys do to help, shelter people. So we thank you. Well, we'll see you guys next time. All righty.